I'm here with Dominic Cooper, who stars in The Devil's Double.
I want you to come and work for me.
Work for you?
I want you to be my double.
My brother.
We could be twins, no? You are asking me to extinguish myself. You do understand, Latif? It is quite simple.
Please be clear about this, Latif. Uday has chosen you. You belong to him.
And in this film, you have to portray two completely distinct, different characters, to the point that one of your characters has to imitate the other. So how did you go about doing this, and how were you able to pull this off? You pulled it off brilliantly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, on my early discussions with Lee, the director, I think it was apparent that we were both very much on the same page about who these characters should be. Yes, we knew the man Latif, who was the guy forced into this atrocious situation, but then, and we know what he says about Uday, but we then had to kind of elaborate and extend what we knew to make two very distinct, different people, so that the audience would always be aware who they were watching. If that fell apart or didn't work, then the whole concept of the film and the structure would fall to pieces, and it would just be a confusing mess. So I really worked on things that Lee mentioned to me as well, that seemed very basic and simple, which were things like changing the physicality of one of them. The guy, the maniac Uday, who would take up huge amounts of space and be very expressive with his body language. Latif being a much more simplistic, still considered man. So they had very difficult physical appearances. The way in which they spoke, not only in the structure of their speech and the syntax, but the tone. So such a simple idea, but one which kind of works. Uday had this ludicrous high-pitched voice, and Latif would speak in a baritone. Did they speak like that? Did they speak? No, absolutely not. But it was another trick to help the illusion that there was two different people.
You did it was brilliant. Like, it was great.
Thanks.
They were completely two separate characters, and it was just very, very fun to watch, and it completely drew me in. So what about The Devil's Double made you want to be a part of it? What attracted you to it?
I read it, but I read it with the knowledge that it might not be a possibility because someone was already attached to it and there were different directors attached to it. But as often is the case with films, things change, things fall apart, and until you're on set shooting it, anything can happen. And I just chased it down. I remember calling about it very often because it stuck with me. The idea, the challenge of it, I thought was compelling, and I thought the story was one that should be told. When I finally spoke to Lee, I was excited because his idea was not to make something that was a detailed, accurate historical account of events. He wanted to make a gangster film, and just a snapshot at that society and that world in that time. It's so lavish and ostentatious, and it's the 80s, and not many people know of that region or that part of the world that was so much part of our recent history with regards to the war. It was always present in my life, but I knew so little about it. I was kind of felt very removed and far away from it. So it's intriguing to find out about that part of the world and this horrific gangster regime that ran the country.